What's up out there? Welcome back to some more Melvor Idle, and today we're going to look at the underground lava lake. Now, this will be a guide. I've actually ground everything out, gotten the pet, gotten all the items, so we can actually put a guide together for this one, and I can tell you how I got through this and what I'm currently doing to idle this right now. So, up first is general recommendations. Just as with the Ancient Sanctuary, if this is your first time going through the dungeon, I would always recommend putting on damage reduction 4s. Diamond Lux are an option once you've beaten the dungeon and can idle it. You'll get better DPS off of it. Magic Assistance is what I'm running now. This gives some different bonuses. It just depends on what you're looking for. As far as prayers go, if it's the first time through, you can always run Protect Item so you don't lose something in case you die, especially if you're under geared for it or under leveled for it. You may not catch some damage or something. It's worth putting on at least the first run to see how things go. It will affect your DPS and things and your damage reduction because you've got something that does basically nothing but help you when you die. But there's also the Holy Aegis and the Stone Skin, which gives you another 5 and 3% respectively, or you can combine the two for 8%. Now, what I've been running is Battleborn and Divination, so that's kind of where I'm at. That should do it for the general recommendations. Let's go into the actual gear that I'm running right now. First and foremost, I was at level 120 in basically everything. I can't remember what it was, like crafting or something. There was almost rune crafting is what it was. I was level 120 in everything when the expansion dropped. So the only thing I had to do was go and get some gear. I am not coming at this from level 99 or 105 or whatever you might be at this point. I came into everything at level 120. So a lot of the spells were unlocked. A lot of things were already going in my favor. Take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt because I already had 120s and everything. I already had max levels. I could do a lot better than you might get to when you get to this dungeon or when you decide to go through this. Now, I have not found this dungeon to be overly difficult. Basically, it is the lava lake. So if you can kill everything in here with the Slayer part of it, because the Slayer part has a little more, because of the Slayer area negation and all that stuff, it's a little more difficult than these dungeon monsters are. These go down quite a bit when you get in here. You can equip better things so that you're not stuck on the Slayer gear. You can actually put real gear on and things like that. So the dungeon is much easier than the Slayer area. So if you can beat everything in the Slayer area, you should be good here. And you're going to probably use mostly magic in the Slayer area anyway, because almost everything in here is melee. The only thing that isn't is the magic fire demon, and I had some issues with that on my range character. I think it was because I was taking all this current HP as damage per attack. I was like instantly just getting insta killed. So when I saw these things in the dungeon, I thought, oh god. But it was probably because I didn't have my Slayer negation corrected, and my magic character I think was just melting everything along the way. So I think the magic has been fairly easy to go through. Anyway, for the gear that I'm running, again, like I said, I was already at max level, so I just put on the Lightning Mythical Wizard hat and the Wizard bottoms. I think I might even had the boots and the body part. Like, that's what I was running when I first beat this dungeon. So what I probably did, in fact, I think this is what I did, is went through and beat it one time with the gear that I could, manually healing as much as I could, and pretty much using the gear that you see here. These things have a complete burn immunity. Now, frost burn and stuff is a different kind of burn, but these guys, they're in a lava lake, so they're immune to fire damage. But that doesn't mean you can't use like sleep or bleed or I don't know, whatever else you can throw on here. Frost burn comes off of this. So there's a reason to use some of this other stuff. I think I might have actually even used the Burning Madness stuff. Because this doesn't do just fire. This does frost burn. I think it is frost burn and burning. Chance to apply burn, which doesn't affect it, or frost burn or freeze. So you're still applying more. So you can stack some bonuses together. And I've since gathered up some other gear, but I want to say I went through, this is pretty much the gear that I used aside from the body and the feet part. This is basically the end game Air God dungeon stuff, or what I beat Impending Darkness with, because here's the Shield of Magic Power. I did put on the Despair Wand. It's the best wand you can get. Out of rune crafting here, if you go under staves and wands, I believe it's going to be the highest. Well, there's this calamity wand. Not sure if it's any better than what I have. Yeah, it's a little better, does a little bit more. I think this despair one was what I could make at the time, and I may not have had the calamity runes or something. I don't know. I may not have had magic wands. Of course, I could apply the upgrade and have a little damage boost, but you can beat it with the whatever you beat impending darkness with. I don't think this dungeon has a high barrier of entry and to clear. Now, I have the Cape of Completion on. I think I probably had the max skill cape or the infernal cape on. Probably the infernal cape, because I think the max skill doesn't have damage reduction, whereas the Cape of Completion does. So some of these things I have because I have a completion account. I've finished a lot of things. I've spent a lot of time grinding out certain things. And long story short, some of the gear I have may not apply. But you can fix these with damage reduction potions or the Holy Aegis or the Stone Skin, depending on what it is. Like this is 1 or 2% more damage reduction than the Infernal Cape. So depending on what you're using, these are 11. The lightning magic stuff is 11%. This freezing touch body is 12%, and these boots are 12%. So I've got like 3 or 4 or 5 extra percent of damage reduction. And I'm running the Ring of Power, which came from the Impending Darkness event. Like I've got this thing cranked up to do as much damage as possible. So from the gear standpoint, I don't think this one's terribly difficult to get into and complete, especially for one time. And you might be able to actually idle this thing fairly simply with some base gear. Now, of course, like I said, I'm at level 120, so I've got all this stuff maxed out. I don't have to worry about my hit points or my magic or anything like that. And my prayers definitely more than adequate. It's just there. Everything is there for me. And I had very end level game stuff that I could craft or rune craft or whatever. All that stuff is here. So aside from some of the end game stuff, this really wasn't that bad of a dungeon. You're going to want to use magic on this because the final boss is a melee boss. So you want to pair up the combat triangle and try to defeat that. There might be a couple of exceptions to that, but typically whatever the final boss is, you want to align the combat triangle up to. So if it's melee, you're going to want to use magic. And there's one thing that's not melee in here, and it's the magic creature, which we just melted. So there are 21 creatures, and these follow this Slayer area. So you're going to fight, let's see, it's 4 of each. So 4 burning snakes, 4 infernal golems, 4 of the magic fire demons, 4 manticores, and 4 Gret Yuns. And that's it. That's pretty much it. So you're going to fight 4 of those, and then there's the final boss. And that's kind of about it. These things just kind of melt away and they're dead. So I'm going to come back when we get to the final boss, and I'll show that one real fast. He's just going to get wiped away. So we will be back in just a second. And we are back for the final boss. I guess one thing I forgot to mention is the magic that I'm running, which I'll point out here in a second. But this boss doesn't really do a whole lot. I don't think there's anything that stuns. He does give you some damage reduction. He removes your damage reduction, I should say. He does burn lifesteal, so if you're on fire, he heals, but he just got melted and he's gone. So for magic, I think when I did this the first time, I think I was running Fire Surge, Anguish 3, and then for an aura, I was running Surge 2 to make things go faster. I have since discovered that with Ancient Magics, I can run Nature's Bloom. Now, this one is when you clear the Ancient Sanctuary 100 times, you get this. This thing does a whole cocktail of damage to him, and I've kind of dug this spell quite a bit. So I've been using that for mostly my magic now, and that's pretty much what I've cleared it with. And then with the tablets, I've got the Witch and either the Siren or the Lightning Spirit. You can also use, let's see, the shield one, the Yak. You can use those if you need to. So there's multiple ways of attacking this thing and, keeping things asleep or on some form of frostburn or something like that. You can't directly use fire, but you can pretty well mow through this whole dungeon. So let's check out what we get for rewards. All right, for a reward from this, you get the burning chest, which the chest can contain infernal bones, charcoal, and ash, which is what you'd expect kind of from this. And then the blazing helmet and the heated fury two-handed hammer, which I have both of them equipped on my melee character. So I've been actually running these. The blazing helmet's a passive helmet, which I noticed this the other day. I could actually switch this over, but it gives you 12% damage reduction. Like, it's pretty killer helmet. Chance to apply burn when attacking and 10% chance to ignore burn. Plus, it gives you some good defense bonuses and things like that. And then this heated fury two-handed hammer, this thing hits hard. I've used this for quite a bit. It's pretty much the melee weapon I've switched over to. So once you grind this dungeon out, this thing will push you forward with the other stuff you're going to be grinding. I was using the Ultima God Sword, and then I think I got this almost immediately after I got that, and I switched to this. And this is a kind of a sizable upgrade from that. So definitely recommended to go and get the upgrade. And once you get it, you can equip it. See how much damage reduction you get, or I'm sorry, damage reduction. You see how much extra damage this thing does, like the bonuses and stuff. It's the same amount of damage reduction, but you get, I don't know, a little bit more damage out of it. Catches everything on fire. This one throws random attacks out. It throws all 4 of the different attacks, which is cool. And like I said, I kind of dug it, but then I switched over to this and I haven't looked back. So, the other thing I would point out is if you go into this Slayer area, I need to grind these Gretyuns out. I keep forgetting about it. They have this Word of Flame material. I'm not sure what it gets yet. I have to get that. But the Manticores drop the Burning Protection material. And those things, when you upgrade them, give you this Burning Protection plate legs, which has a chance to ignore burn. So these could probably be, and another 12% damage reduction. These could probably be used with magic, I guess. Not sure. I haven't tried them. I just put them on my melee character. He's like total burn or not burn or whatever. And with stun, typically I run stun with this unless I'm doing Slayer areas or something like that. But anyway, the rewards from that the rewards from these chests, these burning chests, are pretty good. For melee characters, see, there's another one of each. And I think they sell fairly well too. These things sell for 3 million a piece. So there's 45 million if I wanted to sell those outright. And I think these hammers sell for 8 million a piece. So quite a bit of money if you grind this out to get the pet. Part of the reward is the pet. If you grind out long enough, and if we go down to pets, it drops Harry, and this thing is a little slug that gives you minus 2% damage reduction. So, or all enemies have minus 2% damage reduction. So you're giving the enemies a penalty. So it's good to have that. You can do a little more damage to them. The other thing that you will get out of this is an ancient magic spell. The first time you clear it, you get the giant fireball. And then just like with the ancient sanctuary, you clear it 100 times, you're going to get this infernal power. So I have not used either one of these yet. I've been stuck with this nature's bloom. So I don't really know how they are, but things that I've been fighting are kind of immune to fire or whatever, so I haven't really had a chance to use them yet. And that's kind of this dungeon. I don't know what else I would recommend. You could follow the combat triangle through here, but you're pretty much going to use magic for almost everything, except for the one creature that's magic itself, which you would use ranged on. So while you can follow the combat triangle, this stuff in here is weak to whatever you're going to come in with. So just build your character, put your class together appropriately and with the correct gear, and you should be able to get through this one fairly simply. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I was at 120 and I had pretty decent gear because all my skills just allowed for me to build this stuff and just go through it. So take the gear recommendations with a grain of salt, but I think you could probably get through this with a lot less gear than I did. And that might be why it was such an easy run through this dungeon. And in fact, a lot of the things that I went through, I would go through the dungeon just to see what was on the Slayer areas on the other side. So I probably could have idled this a lot sooner. I just didn't get around to it because I was trying to get other gear and stuff unlocked. So anyway, that will do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.